Welcome to today's Simply Be Found Huddle with Rob and Dean, where we talk about all kinds of random stuff inside of the marketing. And today's going to be a really interesting topic because it's about reports when it comes to voice search and analytics that some of the big boys go through and do. Now, I've heard through rumors and grapevine that there's some big boys that have really tried to, control the market and have really kind of tried to dive in and go, that we're just a small little company over here that doesn't really know what we're doing, and we can't support masses because it's just us two
Yeah,
guys
just
behind it. So what I
yeah,
did today, Dean, is I pulled out an old. Oh, I gotta get it right. I pulled
there you
out a
go.
bottle of Astroglide because I'm ready to take them on. Let's take them on. Let's do it.
Okay, Rob. So I've been getting a lot of questions about voice search and voice search reports.
Yep.
And since you and your team are more the data analysts of our group, I've asked you to go and say, tell me about Alexa and Siri and how reports are generated, where they're generated from, what there's some misconceptions on the accuracy and a few things like that. So I know you guys came up with a whole report. I'm gonna kind of just turn you loose, and then I'm gonna ask for
That's
clarifications.
dangerous.
What's that?
That's dangerous.
Oh hell yeah, I know. I should be careful. Also, there are some big girls out there that don't like as much either.
They're queens. They call
Huh?
themselves queens.
Yeah, I know that, but I don't, but just so you know that it's not just that. We'll just call them the big kids on the block, kind of thing. They're not real
Okay.
fans of two small guys who, we just do our thing. So anyway, let's talk about this data for voice search because everybody's saying they're getting information on Alexa, they're getting stuff on Siri. Let's talk about a little bit and where things are going where we think they're getting their information. Well, we don't think we have pretty good proof on some of the data points that you've been digging up. So let's talk about those data points and what information is coming out for the small businesses because I think small businesses are getting hung up. Agencies get hung up on reports a little bit too. Some of the agencies we work with, but we're not really into the all about the reports. But let's talk about the information that's being supplied to them by some of the other people out there that are doing that. Okay, so I'm going to turn it over to you at this point.
I think there's a lot of miscommunication. I think there's a lot of misinformation out there, especially from the big networks. So when you look at local SEO, you have your big companies out there that we go head to head with all the time. I mean, you've got Yext, you have DBA Platform, you have Bright Local, you have Alexa Business, which isn't even tied to Alexa. If you go to the very bottom of that page, it pisses me
Right.
off. I mean, they miscommunicate to everybody. You have APN, which is just doing the voice search piece, which I really don't know how you do the voice search piece without doing local SEO.
Right.
And there's a lot of pieces there. But I think there's a lot of, if I'm understanding you correctly, Dean, it's one of those things to where a lot of people want to know what those reports are because everybody wants to seem to generate these reports. So my team and I, so we spend a lot of time digging into what reports are really there. Apple Business Connect really doesn't have very good data points yet. I'm assuming they're coming. Alexa doesn't report on anything when it comes to how many people searched or what happens with any of your Alexa listings. It just gives you a one or a zero saying it's
So
good or it's not good.
right. So do you think Amazon's going to come out with better reporting over time, or do you think they're out there
I think they
ways
will.
to like?
I
Yeah,
think
I
they
think
have
so
to.
too.
Either,
They're currently,
unless
but the big thing though is currently they don't really make reports.
they don't make
So
any
that
reports, they don't provide any
right,
data back.
right,
So that I don't think anybody realized that Alexa, when they first started up making these devices, I don't know how old Alexa is, but when they started putting it in for music and being able to get information like weather, that type of thing, I don't think they ever realized what kind of aspect it was going to be for voice search. And I really think voice search was getting ready to kind of go across that finish line and kind of take off to
right.
get started. And COVID really sped that completely up
I agree
because
with you
it really
100%.
started back in 2020.
Right, because that's how this whole adventure of ours
That's how
started
we
was
started
because
anyway.
we recognized that this was coming. It got accelerated, like you said, because of COVID, and so and now with AI in there, I know I'm kind of digressing from our report thing, but AI is also starting to speed that whole process up a little bit more too. Agreed?
Agreed. I
Okay.
mean, AI is really taken off. The way quantum computing, all that different stuff is has definitely sped up that whole process. but still there's no reports. So Alexa doesn't have reports. Siri really doesn't have good reports. Google's reports, I think, are bullshit. Just because, I mean, they say that, their Google business profile, they don't separate it out for how many happen on voice search yet. At the time of recording this, but any of the reports, they say, hey, well, we got this many phone calls, this many directions piece. I mean, I see businesses that don't even have an address that's even visible getting this many direction requests come back.
Right,
And I'm like, how's that possible? It doesn't even have an
right,
address on it. How could they ask for
right.
directions?
Right. So let's talk about that for just a second. Where a lot of people are hiding their addresses because they don't want people coming to because of the way their business is functioning. They have a business address
Service
with,
area.
but it's hidden. But if you don't have a physical pinpoint or a physical place for you to go to, there's no way you can get directions. Correct on
Right.
that on maps.
Yeah,
So
where
that
are you going to give them a direction to?
right. And so that's another one of the report fallacies that we're talking about, that you see things and they're there, but they're not really accurate, in my opinion.
Correct. So what competitors have done inside of there, I'll call them what we're going to call them. We're going to call them the kids
The
on the
big kids,
block.
the big kids on the block.
Okay, so the big kids on the block. So if we're going to talk about the big providers out there, what they've done is they've created systems. These systems are created to sell you. They are created to make you feel like you're not being found somewhere that you might be found for because you're not optimized correct. So when it looks at you, so what they do is they create a system, and we can do the same thing, but I just don't. You and I don't believe in the bullshit
Yeah,
like
no,
everybody else does. But what they can do is they create a system that goes and it checks. It says, okay, is this person doing everything they can? Is all their schema correct on their website? Are they following NAP? Are they registered on all the right networks? Are they doing social media? Are they doing all these different things? Are they structured correctly? It goes out and does this check. And then it tells you, well, your voice search readiness score is, and it provides a data number. And most of that is just BS. It doesn't look at it. You can get the same thing with us. You can say, "Hey, can you look at me and tell me what you think?" And we're more than happy to give you. We're not going to go check the networks
right,
to see what networks you're on. But we'll look at your website. We'll tell you if it's schema. You can do it yourself. You can go to schema.org and be able to pull that information right up.
exactly. So you talked about the voice search readiness thing. One of the acronyms that are out there is VSRRs. That's marketing has a
Voice
wonderful
search
way of,
readiness report.
yeah, voice search readiness report.
And hit close. Here we go.
Yeah, I know, and I get really frustrated because if they use acronyms and you don't understand it, a lot of people won't go, "Well, what's a VSRR?" So I just wanted to throw that out there. It's another acronym for everybody you have to put in the back of your brain and remember it coming forward. But it's a report and it's generated, and they call it the VSRR. So I'm just
Probably
throwing that out there.
one of my favorite parts of my career is I was in a Fortune 5, or 5 was in I think they're a Fortune 100 company. I was inside of their boardroom on one of their meetings for a virtual meeting, and I can't say the company name, but they're talking about all these things, and they're talking about KPIs and throwing all these acronyms out. And being me, I'm just like, what the hell does all that mean? And one of the guys that I think he went to Harvard or Yale, one of those big, huge schools. And he goes, I'm glad somebody finally asked that question. I'm not alone because I just sit here and I just listen to all this stuff, and I figured they must know what they're talking about. Well, that's because
Right?
it goes right over everybody's head. 90% of the people, key performance
Yeah,
indicators, stuff like that. Most marketers and anybody who has a marketing background understands what that is or done anything in the analytical world. But I mean, it's one of those things to where the common person doesn't give a shit.
right, exactly. And it happens in any discipline. They start to use acronyms just because it's faster. But I get
How
it. But the
often
problem
did
is
that happen inside of engineering?
oh, it
How
happens
often
all the
did
time. I
control
mean,
room?
we had all K factors, all kinds of we have all kinds of different anybody in engineering, but that's a whole nother topic. But every discipline, every profession develops their own acronyms. I mean, educators have tons of them too. But the thing is they you get I feel like sometimes the larger, I shouldn't call it not agencies, but the larger providers, they talk down at you a little bit and make you feel, if they keep you confused, then they can sell you a different product, and that's my opinion. But
It's a sales tool. It's to be able to cause to indications for you to be able to buy more. I mean, the reporting on this is absolutely BS. I think this is why enterprises, franchises, big agencies or even small agencies, what makes us so uniquely different for our approach, why people watch our podcast, why they watch our YouTube videos, and why they become members is the simple fact that you and I do things a little bit different. We do it to where we're looking for true things that actually matter that are going to grow your business. And if you're not
Right.
willing to help yourself, you're never going to get anywhere with any of our tools.
Right, and we talk about helping yourself, and I know that we're digressing from the reports, but what we have 3 years ago we had the to do list on our side on our platform, and we
Everybody
found
has
that but everybody has one now, and everybody has one, but we found that most people don't really follow to do lists, but they ask a question because something unique came up, and we've added the human element back into it. You're not going to get, I mean, we use AI to help ourselves with some of the responses. I'm not going to tell people that everything's just dreamed up right out of our heads, but we take it and we understand the different techniques, and we've added that human element back in. That way, if somebody's confused, they can reach back to us and say, "I don't understand." So there's some give and take with all of our members that reach out to us.
Well, I think it's more important that that brings the human aspect in because AI is not always right. Have I copied and pasted something from AI because I thought it was good and was it wrong? Yeah, I mean, heck, we got a price wrong on something I answered yesterday.
Yeah, you
That
did.
I sent back to someone, and you called me out on it. Normally, that's the reversed way, but it's one of those things to where accessing your member benefits and being able to access you and I and being able to handle as many support tickets that come through and answering every question that comes across the desk is impressive. We couldn't do it without AI. We couldn't do it without our team. As we'll go to our
Right,
team and say, okay, go do the research. You and I still put our two eyes on it to know what's working and what's not working. That's also allowed us to be able to open things up like the new listings engine that's going to be coming out next month.
right,
It's going to be a huge amount of changes to the listings engine. It's going to get smarter. It's going to get better. And it's based on that feedback that comes. No matter if you're a small business, medium-sized business, large business, an agency, doesn't matter what you have there. We take that data and we're making it better and growing it in there. Is that's how we
right,
do all of our feedback.
right.
And we
And
utilize some of the best tools out there.
And the biggest thing is again, there, that's all. What we're trying to do is drive your business to be better, and we still determine whether or not your information is going in there correctly, and all. We still do have all those checks and balances as well. But going back, I mean, the thing is, those reports just give you going back to the report thing, just gives you false information. Yeah, not false information. It misleads
It's
your.
propaganda.
Yeah, there you go. That's a better word for it. And I just don't, and it's there, but it gives you a level of confidence that may or may not be real, kind of
Correct.
thing.
I mean,
So
it's one of those things. You said it before on other podcasts and other videos that we've done. It gives you the sense that you can hang up with confidence when you're getting all the spam calls that happen for voice. But what they're trying to do is they're trying to be able to sell you based on fear. And that report helps them be able to put a finger point on that fear piece. So, inside of the world of marketing, you have different levels of things that you sell on. Fear is one of them. The other pieces you have is you used to have back in the 80s and 90s. Sex sold. I mean, Madonna, that's why Madonna was so damn good back in the day. I mean, all that was part of that whole piece. And correct me, I mean,
no,
I was young during that period, so correct me, my wise one. Am I thinking about that
I
right for
mean,
the timeline?
yeah, well, what sells. I mean, the human nature doesn't change, and there's always in small businesses always have doubt whether or not they're being discovered or
Correct.
seen, and that and that's really the bottom line is you're getting information that I don't say is wrong, but it's not as forthcoming as I think it should be, and I don't know. I just get hung up on that whole thing of I look at reports and I go, well, I don't even know what the X and Y axis are on this report. They don't define it. They don't, and they go, oh, look at how it's going. Well, that may be good or bad. I don't know. So that's some of the reporting and lying with statistics and things of that nature that happen
Right.
out there in reports.
It is. And report. I mean, if the fear piece. If you look at news today, the fears where things going to be. So if you don't, if it doesn't look like you're doing good and the graph goes down, it might go down because its report was missing data, and it wasn't
Right.
able to collect the data because it didn't exist. It didn't know where to go look for it. But yet the report says that, and it looks really bad. Now you're going to buy it, and you're going to hope it goes up. We could pull, if you're a member of ours, we could pull the whole graph, and it was funny. You and I complain. We did a whole video on this back in the day about that stupid graph with all the dots on it. We have the software to do that. You're like, well, everything's not done there. It's done to the circle or brush. Now everybody came out with, these circle pieces. And I think the person who created that was Falcon or something.
Yeah, I
Um, that,
think yeah,
that originally created that. But
I think it was called Local Falcon originally. The
I
first
think I
person.
think that's who ended up being the first one to
Yeah,
put it out. Bright Local copied that or uses it, and I mean, there's all these different pieces that connect everything together, which I think is funny because you and I complain about something, debunk something, and then next thing you know, they're coming out with a different version of it. But what I
right,
don't like about that report, still, we have access to tools that can pull that report, and it's all based off of your Google Business Profile. And the problem that I have with it is there's not anything that you can do to fix that report. It does
right.
not tell you you're going to fix this square right here, or this little circle that you're not being found in. There's not why you're fixing it. And
Yeah,
they'll point you the same direction every time, the same way we would of make sure you have the right keywords on your website, make sure you have the right keywords inside of your listings, make sure you stack and do all the things because it'll solve it naturally over time. Well, no shit. Why do I
yeah.
need a report saying that? And where'd you get your data on that?
Yeah, exactly. And and the thing is, they don't tell you how to fix some of those things. But if you're not getting business from over in this part of, there we go. There's my hand. And so over here, over to this side of your business model or the map of where you want to do business, you can do with content. And that's what we've talked about content. You can say, hey, we did this job over in this suburb or this neighborhood. And all of a sudden now you have a reference point. You really can't force anything to happen, but you can help the search engines discover you. But they're not, but those graphs are all based on, I don't know. It's all based on where they think that the search came from, and it's hard to really prove or disprove some of that stuff.
Well, it
You know,
also depends on what the IP address thinks it's where it's located. I mean, some IP addresses you could be sitting inside of one city and it thinks you're somewhere else, or if they're using a VPN, that can even make it even worse. And there's all kinds of technical sides that come to these reports that really bring me in because it's like, well, I could debug that because it's not 100% accurate. And what
right,
what you and I wanted to do is create a system that was going to bring accuracy to where you are doing the things that are going to matter to your business and not chasing things that are just smoke and mirrors.
right, and that all comes down to the consistency of information, the name, address, phone number, kind
Yep.
of stuff. Again, social media and then website. I mean, those are the things, and that's what our platform does, especially the listings engine. It really makes sure your name, address, phone number, descriptions, keywords, products, and services are out there in the way that you want them to be, and you can adjust those. And we push it out through our algorithm to our aggregation process.
Right. I mean, so you have the listings engine, which is going to solve your NAP. You have your social media suite, which is going to solve your social, and you're going to have your website, which is going to solve the website piece, which is what we're trying to do with our whole entire set of tools is solve the NAPSW.
Correct. Correct.
And
So
if you're not solving the NAPSW and you're not doing everything to be able to help yourself, you're not going to get the best results out of anything. And even if you're not using us, make sure you register on as many networks as you can. Be consistent on every single one of those networks.
right,
And then all you have to do is make sure you're doing your social media and make sure your website has the right schema and structure, and you're posting on your website. And
exactly.
if you do all those things, you're going to rock it.
I agree with you 100%.
And you can dominate.
So
We just make it easier and make it simpler to use our tools to do it.
exactly, and don't get hung up on the reports. I mean, really, really don't get hung up on the reports.
No, I
So
mean the reports are a bunch of smoke and mirrors.
I agree
And
with you.
I mean, there's people who want to see reports. If you want to see reports, go build a Google report, and because that's all they're pulling their data from, and that's going to be what you're going to base your stuff on. If you want to see some heavier reports with us, you can always ask us. We can pull those Google reports for you. We can pull what we think they are, or if you're on like the AI SEO pixel, then we can dive into those reports even heavier. To be able to pull those out, because then we have access to your Google Search Console and your Google Analytics, and we're looking at true stuff. But really, Google's still your powerhouse for analytics.
It really is. It really
It
is.
really is. Because, I mean, Apple
And
Business Connect doesn't have it for Siri. Alexa doesn't have it. I mean, you've got Google Reports. Google is still the king when it comes to doing reporting.
right,
And
I
that's
agree with
because
you.
they see the value in the data.
Right, exactly. And just so everybody knows that Google Reports, you can get those yourself without belonging to anybody.
Yep. You can pull those
You know,
off.
yep,
You can look at
exactly.
you have three reports that are going to generate that. You have your analytics for your Google business profile. You have your Google Analytics, and then you have your Google Search Console. If you follow those three things, you can do it. And then you can also tie in your Facebook and do all that stuff as well. There's something called Looker. It's free from Google. You can tie all of your reports directly into it and build your own reporting system.
Exactly. So, all right. So, is there anything else you want to cover today, right now, Rob? I know it's a little shorter than what we normally do, but
That's a shorter one, but I mean that's okay. So no, that's all I've got today. If you're not already following our Simply Be Found Huddle, definitely follow us. We are on YouTube, we're on Apple, we are on Spotify, we are on Amazon, and some other different spots where you listen to podcasts. Make sure you subscribe; it helps us out a ton. If you have any questions whatsoever, if you want to join us on the podcast, definitely reach out. Let us know. We'd love to have you on. My name is Rob. I'm one of the co-founders.
and I'm Dean, the other co-founder. So here we go. So everybody, thank you very much for joining us today.
Thank you for joining us. Have a great day.